Hi guys! Welcome to a new edition of Kaede Kisaragi looks over Big Bad Beetleborgs. So, last time we met our heroes, we met our bullies, we met most of the cast, but we are still missing something important. The villains and the powers. And that's where today's episode comes in. Will it be good? Will it be bad? Let's look over Beetle Rock Part 2 and find out. We pick up exactly where we left off, with the kids having just asked Flabber to turn them into Beetleborgs. Flabber, being a ghost trapped on an organ for God knows how long, has no idea what Beetleborgs are. And apparently also has a few brain cells lacking since, when given a comic book showing the Beetleborgs, he scans the entire cover and assumes that the kids want to be turned into mice. Say Flabber, are you sure you're not related to some horror movie clown? The kids naturally complain, being turned back into humans. This time, Flabber pulls all the stops and zaps them good with his magic, managing to do it right. And thus, we get our first glimpse on what will be the transformation sequence of the show. The kids, depicted in comic book form, shift into their respective Beetleborg form, and then the comic drawing comes to life as it gains 3 dimensions, showing a detailed view of their armor as it does. I gotta say, I really like this transformation, it's effective. Plus, I can't help but notice how they seemingly took the shots of the armors from the opening sequence of Jukobi Fighter, the tokusatsu that Beetleborgs is adapting. The transformation ends with the Beetleborgs walking forward as if depicting them literally stepping through the fourth wall of the comic. Only for the 3 to realize that they're still stuck inside the comic book. Flabber is that one guy at the market who pushes his cart with his belly because it's too difficult to do it with his hands. One more zap of magic and the kids are finally outside the comic, wearing their Beetleborg armor and armed with their respective individual weapons. Joe is the Red Striker Beetleborg, based off a female Japanese rhinoceros beetle and armed with the Striker Blaster. Roland is the Green Hunter Beetleborg, based off a stag beetle and armed with the Hunter Claw. Drew is the Blue Stinger Beetleborg, based off the male Rhinoceros Beetle and armed with the Stinger Blade. Right about this time, the 3 Hillhurst monsters show up, still wanting to eat the kids, but the kids naturally can handle the monsters with a lot of ease now with their new superpowers, not helped by how even Flabber says that the monsters shouldn't be hurt, that they are not a threat. Yeah, tell that to the vampire who can suck blood, the mummy who looks like death, and the Frankenstein creature that can crush stuff with his hands. Regardless, the 3 monsters cram, leaving cartoon-shaped holes on the walls, obviously, and all seems well. Or is it? Oh my god, the comic's on fire! It was mint condition too, it was gonna sell for millions on eBay in a few years. Actually, the fire is coming out of the comic itself, flying into the air and all the way out to the city, taking the shape of 3 monsters, known as the Manga Force. These are Jara, who sounds like Natasha without Boris, Typhus, who has a mouth on his head, thus can eat brain food, and Noxic, who is what happens when white people wear dreadlocks. Jara uses a comic a nearby kid's reading to summon the Magnavore jet fighters, who proceed to, naturally, unleash Japanese destruction footage on the town. Flabber whimpers in realization that maybe, just maybe, he may have fucked up and let the Beetleborgs villains out of the comic book and into the real world. Now if only the kids here could express more fear and worry than just the faces of oh darn, first homework, now this. The Magnavores set out for some sightseeing, scaring random people and being lukewarm evil at best, such as making a guy on a bicycle faceplant on a cake shop. Though what astounds me is how the producers managed to put the entire cake on top of his head and not fall off. The 3 monsters soon spot what else? A monster movie playing, heading inside to watch it. The screen shows, naturally, Nosferatu. Yet the audio that plays in the background is both a stock horror soundtrack and Japanese dialogue. What weird edition of Nosferatu is this anyway? Jara is quick to steal herself snacks from the nearby moviegoer, only to discover something didn't go right when she came to this world because her mouth won't open, despite her being able to speak. So she can't eat any snacks, but Noxic and Typhus can. And hey, Typhus can eat her share, he got 2 mouths. Naturally, the humans soon panic and scram as soon as they realize there are monsters in the room. Special spotlight on this random guy who tried to do a pratfall while running down the steps. Flabber is able to show the kids that the Magnavores are attacking town from a crystal ball. There's paying homage to Power Rangers, and then there's just wearing your references on your sleeve. The three Magnavores soon are shown inside a cemetery, and while they do actually poke fun at how the place is very stereotypical with the fog and the darkness, all I can wonder is when the hell did night fall and it was bright sunny day earlier, wasn't it? And emerging from one of the tombs rises the leader of the Magnavores, Vexor, who speaks with a very calm and somewhat bored tone of voice as he brings the three into their new underground lair in a crypt. Vexor is quick to complain about his three men wasting their time goofing off and says that they must first destroy the Beetleborgs, showing himself aware not only that they were brought here first, but that Flabber was the one to do it. How does he know that? I have no idea. So he orders the three to go to the mansion and deal with the Beetleborgs. And I'll give Jara credit for actually asking if he doesn't have a more elaborate plan beyond go deal with them. The Magnavores arrive in the mansion, ready for a fight, and the outside shot once more showing it to be night. Seriously, how the hell are these kids still in the mansion this late? As the kids hear the bad guys come in, Joe and Roland realize that if they are Beetleborgs now, that must mean they have access to all the Beetleborg weapons and equipment as well. But most importantly, they need the Beetle Bonders in order to transform. Say, if they didn't have the Beetle Bonders already, how exactly did they go back to civilian form? For that matter, why did they go back to civilian form? Also, how many hours have these kids been in this mansion? With a whistling of 3 notes from their theme song, the Beetle Bonders finally appear on their hands. I like the Beetle Bonders. They look neat and act as both communication and transformation devices. One thing that kinda makes me curious is that the toy version of the Beetle Bonder opens the front panel into 2 bug wings that flip sideways when you press a button. Much like the Beef Fighter version of the devices. But in the show, we never see the kids doing that. They only summon the Bonders and raise them in the sky, calling out, "Beetle Blast!" After a repeat of the transformation sequence, because apparently the producers couldn't just pad out the episode with more fights, we had to just repeat something we already saw, the three come down to face the Magnavores, and immediately get zapped for their troubles. But one quip later, and the three are back on their feet and dealing with the baddies. Drew swing kicks Jara from a chandelier, Joe tosses Noxic around, and Roland just runs circles around Typhus. After this very short fight, the Magnavores flee back to Vexor, declaring the Beetleborgs a lot stronger in the real world than they were in the comics. But Noxic points out that, with the gateway still open, they can summon monsters from the comic books to help them destroy the Beetleborgs. With that in mind, Vexor sets his sights on conquering the real world. Back in Hillhurst... What? Morning? It's freaking morning? Did the kids spend the night in the house? Nah, just kidding. They actually came back here the following day, apparently a bit disbelieving that things weren't just a dream, until Flabber shows up. Flabber is quick to note, though, that things aren't over. Unless they can send Vexor and his cronies back inside the comic book, nobody will be safe. So the kids have no option but continue to be Beetleborgs until then. Don't think that these three find that to be that terrible. As the three proceed to leave though, Drew accidentally pushes over the lamp, but manages to stop it in the air, discovering that Flabber's magic seems to have leaked some extra powers on him, giving him telekinesis. Joe, bummed by her brother's luck, kicks a globe in the air, discovering she has super strength. And Roland, rushing to grab the globe before it falls, finds he has super speed. Flabber apologizes, assuming that the kids would be upset by this, but obviously the kids love this little fuck up and don't want it fixed. Flabber also makes sure to tell them to keep their identities a secret, which I feel is more a safety precaution for Flabber than themselves. After all, if people knew Flabber could grant wishes, they would all come here and only cause more trouble with the three monsters on the mansion. Back to Zoom Comics, we see Vaughn and Trip arrive in their limo, blasting out some loud hip-hop. Nana seems to dig it, but her son looks down at her like, "Mom, please don't do that." Spotlight on Dudley, who has his ears stuffed full because Dudley is awesome. Joe is quick to state how they won the bet, but Van and Trip, like cocky little shits that they are, state that they did not run out of the mansion until long after the tree ran off screaming, and thus they won. What did they win though is up for debate. They never really established any sort of prize, did they? Drew, however, decides to collect on some just rewards, using his telekinesis to drop a bucket of water and soap all over the two idiots, with complete approval of Roland and Joe, and Dudley, who knows funny when he sees it. The ending credits gag shows Frankie and Fangula passing by each other in the hallways, but being tricked by the living statue into assuming the other is hitting them from behind. A classic little gag. So, that's our episode. How does it hold up? Not very well, I must say. I mean, I can understand that they were aiming the show to a younger demographic than Power Rangers, most likely, but you shouldn't have the debut of your heroes be with original footage and then make it such an underwhelming affair. There's no cool martial arts, no explosions, the heroes barely really struggle with the villains. For that matter, the Manga Force themselves don't get a cool first outing. At no point did I feel that these three were gonna be a serious threat, and frankly, the jet fighters were a lot more credible. Also, what happened to the jet fighters? They were attacking the town and blowing shit up. Did they just go away? Did nobody around town notice the explosions? They don't even acknowledge that the town was attacked by the end of the episode. One can wonder if maybe Saban hadn't acquired all the B-Fighter costumes. On a tokusatsu show, you usually have two versions of costumes. A fancier one, used for up-close shots, and a more flexible one, used for the stunts and the action. I think maybe Saban only had the fancy costumes and thus was limited on how much original action they could film. But if that's the case, why not use more stock footage on this episode? Why not have the kids head out of the mansion and fight some mooks? You didn't need to keep it all inside the mansion. Power Rangers itself had the heroes be teleported to the city just so they could use stock footage. One small thing I'll note though, it's that it's kinda realistic to have the kids be willing to use their civilian powers for their own benefit or get back at their bullies. It sounds like what a kid would do in such a situation, and adds a more relatable fantasy for the target audience than seeing the badass martial artist teens being told that they should never escalate a fight by their mentor. Flabber himself was a bit less obnoxious than last episode. While he still says too many movie quotes per minute, he clearly is as enthusiastic about the kids' wishes becoming true as they are, and by the end of the episode, he has really bonded with the kids enough to show that he likes them, and the kids, while finding him a bit weird, seem to like him back. Next time, we'll see Trip and Van once again try to prove they are not cowards, and whatever that may result for the mentioned monsters. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel, leave a like, leave a comment, I love to reply to comments, and I'll see you next time for more Beetleborgs. But until then, bye bye!